we all want to understand those big events, those things that really shape our world, right?
Right.
And sometimes those events are tough to look at. But today we're diving deep into one such event, the Atlanta Midtown Mall shooting, September 15th, 2000.
Yeah, it's one that stayed with a lot of us, I think, especially because of, what it taught us about technology and how it relates to, public safety. I mean, 3 lives were lost, others injured. It was tragic.
Absolutely. And for our deep dive today, what's really significant is that the planning for this shooting actually involved an online platform, a Yahoo chat room.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to break down the events of that day, of course, but also, how this very early online platform played a role in the planning and then, the impact that this had on everything really, on how we viewed online interactions going forward.
Right.
So let's rewind back to September 15, 2000, Midtown Mall in Atlanta. It's about 3:45 in the afternoon. Can you take us there?
Sure. So, yeah, picture a typical afternoon at the mall, people shopping, just going about their day.
Right.
And suddenly, shots ring out. It's just chaos, right? People are caught completely off guard. There's panic, people running for cover, people trying to figure out what's happening.
I mean, eyewitness accounts describe it as just a sudden eruption of terror.
Yeah.
Just a completely normal day shattered by gunfire.
Yeah, exactly. And amidst all this confusion, the authorities, they responded quickly and they apprehended the shooter, Michael Reynolds, right there on the scene. He had a semi-automatic handgun. It was just, just a stark reminder of the potential for violence, even in these seemingly everyday spaces.
Right. But here's where it gets really, relevant for us.
Yeah.
It turns out that Reynolds didn't just, suddenly decide to do this. The investigation showed that he had actually been using a Yahoo chat room to plan the attack.
Mm.
I mean, it really shows you just how much, the world was changing at that time.
Mm. Yeah, this was a time when online anonymity, it was this kind of new frontier. And I think for a lot of people, it was this place where you could be whoever you wanted to be. You could say whatever you wanted to say without consequence.
Right, right.
But this case, it really highlighted, the dark side of that. Reynolds was communicating with other users anonymously. They were talking about potential targets, how to get a weapon, even discussing tactics to cause as much harm as possible.
So authorities were starting to see just how dangerous these online spaces could be.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, this is really uncharted territory for them.
Absolutely. It raised so many questions about, responsibility, about, who was accountable for what happened online.
Right.
In the end, Reynolds faced multiple charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. And the online conversations, they were a key part of the evidence presented at trial.
Yeah, and I think that was really significant, right? Because it showed that his actions were premeditated, that they weren't, a spur-of-the-moment thing. The Internet played a huge role in this. And in 2001, he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow.
So this case, it really sparked a national conversation. It made people really start to think about the potential dangers of online anonymity and what it could mean for public safety.
Yeah, I remember this. People were calling for increased monitoring of these platforms.
Right, exactly. Could more have been done to prevent this?
Exactly.
And we did see a response. Companies like Yahoo, they started implementing stricter rules, better moderation policies. They were working more closely with law enforcement to try to identify and address potential threats. It was a real turning point for how online platforms, thought about safety.
Yeah, definitely.
So, this deep dive into the Atlanta Midtown Mall shooting, it really shows us one of the earliest, most tragic examples of how online platforms, something that seemed so harmless, could actually be misused to plan violence in the real world.
Right. And it really underscored just how important it is for everyone, users, platforms, law enforcement, to be vigilant in creating and maintaining safer online environments.
And it leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Online communication, it's evolved so much since 2000.
It really has.
How do we adapt? What are the new challenges? How do we prevent similar tragedies in a world that's more connected than ever?
Right.
What's our role in this?
Yeah.
It's definitely something to think about.
It really is. Food for thought.
Absolutely.